Hey, 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 it's JJ Conway. I'm so excited to be with you all today. We are going to be talking about one of my favorite things, that is real estate, y'all. I'm so excited. I got a couple announcements before we get into it, but today we're going to be talking about wholesaling. Today is our wholesaling 101. And instead of trying to cram it all into one night, we're just going to split it up into two parts. We're going to do wholesaling 101 part 1, wholesaling 101 part 2, and then we're going to do our driving for dollars 101, which is going to be a live hands-on class. So if you are very, very interested in doing any kind of real estate investing, this is an excellent way to get started. In fact, I like to look at wholesaling as a way to earn while you learn, because a lot of times when we get started in real estate investing, we don't know everything we should know to get started. All right. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to confirm that my free conference call folks are on the line, and then I'm also going to call up the slides. So you should be seeing some pretty purple slides, and I'm also going to go into the free conference call meeting wall and make sure. Good thing I'm checking it before we get into the content. Let me put that in Q&A mode, and we will get that taken care of. But oh my goodness, I can't believe I did that, y'all. Hold on. I got to fix that branding from Bible study last night. It's got my church branding up at the top corner. We need to fix that. Look, I believe that the Lord. Oops, I am the host. Hold on. Oops. Hold on. Come back. Uh-oh. Man, I'm just falling apart tonight. Okay. Yeah. So I believe, look, I believe the Lord does want us to do the Lord does want us to do real estate investing. You know why I believe the Lord wants us to do real estate investing? I believe that the Lord wants us to do real estate investing. It's not a commandment. There's nothing in the Bible that says thou shalt invest in real estate. But the Bible doesn't say all that. But what I take from the Bible that leads me to believe that the Lord looks at and condones real estate as an investment source is that several prominent people in the Bible invested in real estate, to include the Proverbs 31 woman, and to include all those people who helped found the early church by selling off their lands. And a lot of times we look at that as, well, they sold off all their excess and their extra stuff that they didn't really need, and they gave that to the Lord. But stop and think about it for a second. They had it to give. You know, a lot of times we knock on people who build wealth, but forget about the fact that they have it to give when it comes time to give. You know, I just went to the hospital. We're gonna get to my wholesaling 101 here in just a second. But you know, this is gonna be blessed. This will be a blessing to somebody, and it's also gonna help me make sure that some of the people that's supposed to be online are online, and I didn't accidentally drop them, right? But let me tell you, I went to the hospital the other day to visit a friend who had a heart attack, and they had taken her to Fort Worth, and so it's a little bit of a drive, and so I wanted to make sure she had some visitors, and I didn't have to worry. Her family's taking good care of her. But I get up there, and I notice every wing in that hospital, it's not just the heart center. It's the such and such and so last name. What do they call for heart? No, it's not internal medicine. Oh man, I'm ruining my flow because I can't remember what it's called. I'm just gonna make stuff up. They don't use the words heart and lung. They use words like pulmonary and internal and stuff like that. But it's basically the John and Mary Smith Heart Center and the Bob and Cindy John Lung Center. And it's all these people who had enough wealth to contribute to the building and the establishment of this Methodist hospital. And you walk up to it, and even though it's a mainstream hospital that everybody uses, you walk up to it and it's got the Methodist symbol and the little cross with the flame. I've always liked that symbol. I did not grow up Methodist, y'all. My husband grew up Baptist, but we kind of migrated to the Methodist church when we were trying to find something that both of us could fellowship with when we didn't have a Church of the Living God International. I was partial myself to Assemblies of God, but he was partial to the Methodist Church. But I've always liked that symbol. But with regards to real estate, I was saying all that because if you're just joining us, I accidentally had my church logo up in the corner up here. I actually had oh, that's cute. I accidentally had my church logo up there instead of my real estate logo. So I was like, oh, but really, I believe that there are certain things that the Bible condones as far as investments, which tells us we shouldn't be afraid of them. We should learn how to understand them. And what we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to understand wholesaling 101. I'm excited, y'all. We're going to be talking about wholesaling. Why do I love wholesaling? Well, because I teach living a debt-free lifestyle. And when you are living a debt-free lifestyle, that means we are not taking on more debt. And that means we're not taking on more debt to run our business. And that means we're not taking on more debt to send our kids to college. And that means we're not taking on more debt. And I made all these mistakes myself, y'all. We're not taking on more debt so that we can further the gospel. Y'all, let me tell you about some gospel debt. A lot of times when I talk about that, I talk about that in the context of the church we opened up and how the plan was to do this thing, and we were going to open up this facility. And when we opened up this facility, we were going to have these tithes and those offerings, and we were going to pay it right back. I mean, it was just going to be a month or two. It was just going to be a month or two, and we were going to pay it right back. But how did we not know? Oh, the Spirit knew, but we didn't know. And in my ego, y'all, to get moving forward and not have people talking bad about me, taking too long to start a church, and not having all these other things that were being fed to me, right? That's why you shouldn't listen to everybody. You should address what people say. If you're hearing it from enough sources. I'm not saying dismiss everything, but you shouldn't listen to everybody, because a lot of times people reacting off of ego and gossip. But I got all up in my feels and all up in my ego, and I was determined to push through. And I put that carpet in that floor and on that card. This was maybe about 5 or so years, 6 or 7. No, it was about 8 years ago. Oh my goodness, I'm getting old. I put that stuff in there. I hadn't used debt in years, y'all, but I said, well, it's for the sake of the ministry. It's for the sake of the ministry. And sure enough, that was in January. So we opened up in December. In January, we went ahead and did the carpet and the thing, because we realized nobody was going to come until we made it safe for everybody. And the concrete floor that they had too many construction aberrations, so that it wasn't safe to let people come in. So like, oh, we'll do this, and then people will come, and we'll have tithes and offerings. We'll pay it off in a month or two. No big deal. Except the next month, Sears water main broke and flooded our end of the mall. And most of those stores were shut down for 6, 7, 8, 9 months. And I think it took us about 2 years to pay back the loan, not the loan, 2 years to pay back the flood remediation. Because we weren't in a flood zone. I didn't know we needed flood insurance. I didn't know that regular insurance doesn't cover the store next to you water main breaking. I didn't know Sears was going to go bankrupt and go out of business, and they weren't going to pay for it. I didn't know that the mall used their insurance to fix all the other shops, but everybody that had a store in it, they didn't use their insurance to fix us. So it took us about 2 years to pay that off. Well, guess what wasn't getting paid off while that flood was getting paid off? You guessed it. So that's why I say I have done the debt trinity and decided it's of the devil. And so you're never going to convince me on that. I got burned in real estate. That was business debt. I got burned personally. That was wedding and pressure debt, right? I got burned spiritually. That was church debt. I said, I no more debt. I'm done with debt. I'm done with debt. Yeah, I'm done with debt. Thank you. And so one of the reasons I love wholesaling is because I'm done with debt. And there's got to be a way. People say you can't do this and you can't do that. It takes money to make money. The poor get poorer and the rich get richer. And we just lock ourselves into these phrases, these colloquialisms, these cultural attributes. And really, at the end of the day, they're not true. In fact, I find it a very interesting concept that a lot of people would rather go into a hotel room in a seminar led by somebody you're never going to see again and slap $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 on the table on their credit card for a dream of making it rich with one amazing real estate deal, rather than doing what it takes to actually learn how to invest in real estate and learn how to do it right in your backyard with people who know what they're doing in your backyard, with investors who are in your backyard, where you can put hands on and grip and grin and really do something to make something happen and make checks along the way. Why is that? Well, there's a lot of reasons we pursue get rich quick kind of things. And I guess I should pull up my slides again because I do talk about that a little bit, but I'll fast forward through some of those. There's two big things that really drive us to the get rich quick. So when you feel these two feelings rising up in you when it comes to real estate, I want you to slow your roll and say to yourself, JJ told me to watch out when I'm feeling this way about investing in real estate. There's two big things. One is greed. We just want to get it and we want to get it and we don't have to work for it. But there's nothing in this world that you're going to have of lasting value that you don't have to work for. There's nothing in this world that's of lasting value that you don't have to put out some effort for. A lot of times we like to say, even in religion, Jesus paid it all. Yes, Jesus paid it all, but it takes effort to walk with him. It's not just a set it and forget it. Oh, I give my life to the Lord. I accept him as my personal savior. Now I'm saved for the rest of my life. That's not how the Bible works. That's not how my Bible works. That's not how my Bible reads. It's a daily walk. It's a walk. And a walk means investment of time and effort and prayer and study. I don't know why I'm being so religious today. If you came here because this is a secular class on real estate, then I understand you might be a little frustrated right now, but please bear with me because when I get into these modes, it's usually because somebody needs to hear this encouragement, okay? And I am who I am. I am a woman of faith. I am a preacher, an investor, a wife, and a mom. And I love what I do. And what I do, it's all interwoven in. And so I really feel led to talk a little bit about this type of religion. But we're going to get to the real estate in just a second. You can always wait for the replay and you can fast forward through the religious stuff. But I would encourage you to listen to what I have to say about my Lord, because you know what? You might just need the peace that he offers. But there's a lot of times we get really greedy and we want to go do this and we want it now. And if it's not now, we don't want it. But one thing that the Lord is offering us is not a instantaneous get rich quick scheme, but a daily walk. And I really believe that the best real estate investors also approach real estate investing in a methodical manner. A daily walk and learning of ever growing and learning more and growing more and investing more and growing more. I really do. I really believe that. And so when we feel that greed coming, I'm like, oh, I'm going to get all this stuff. I'm going to get more, 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 more. And we either feel like, oh, we're going to get something out of nothing out of this, or we feel like we're going to get more, 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 and what we have is not good enough. I want you to slow your roll and say, JJ told me to watch out for this feeling. I'm feeling really greedy. I'm feeling like I just want more and more and more. I'm feeling like every time I get something, I'm excited because I got it. I won. I beat the other guy, the other gal. I bested this opponent. I bested this deal. I made it happen. And now that energy is gone, and now I'm ready for the next one. And so we want to question that. What is that? Is that ego? Is that greed? Is that pursuing a higher height and a deeper depth? It may well be, but it may not be. And when it is attributed to greed, or it is attributed to ego, that feeling can lead us down the wrong path so many times. Not just and it's so funny how many of these concepts that I teach are really similar across all domains. And I've been on that theme all year long so far about how it's the same principles for our health, it's the same principles for our relationships, it's the same principles for our finances. It's really all the same principles, and that greed is one of them. The other one that I want you to watch out for in your real estate investing and really your life is fear. A lot of times we jump into real estate deals that are not good for us out of fear. We're either afraid that we're going to miss out. The fear of missing out. FOMO is real, right? We're afraid we're going to miss out. We're afraid everybody else is going to pass us by. We're afraid we're going to miss the deal of the century. Or on the flip side, we're so afraid we're going to make a mistake that we never move forward. And when fear begins to grip you and you find yourself operating from a place of fear or a place of scarcity, that's the time to say, oh, wait a second. JJ warned me I might start feeling this way. Let me check what's going on. Let me do a checkup from the neck up, and let me figure out what's going on inside so that I can move forward with my dreams, so that I can move forward and achieving what I set out to do, so that I could not just take the vision and have it some lofty thing out there, but so that I can actually say, okay, here's where I want to go, and here are the steps that I'm going to take to get there. And not one of the steps that you've got to take to get to where you want to go there's not a single one of them. I have checked, I have looked in the books, I have researched the internet. There is not one single step that gets you from where you are right now to where you want to go that says cower in fear, that says make hasty decisions out of fear. that says, I'm going to react out of fear. No, instead of reacting, we're going to be proactive. Now, we're going to honor fear. When fear creeps in, when fear sets in, we're going to honor that. We're going to honor it. We're going to bless it. We're going to challenge it. And if it's applicable, we're going to address it. And if it's not applicable, we're going to release it. And because there's a lot of things that have been programmed into us since we were little bitty kids about fear. Don't cross the street. Don't talk to strangers. Don't do this. Don't do that. And then, Lord forbid, you have something happen to you. I remember when I was 4 years old, we were living in Okinawa. I crossed the street to go try to find some friends to play with because I was just a weird age where all the kids were either, they were all bigger than me, or I had my baby sister who couldn't go out and play yet. But I remember across the street, my mom said, don't you cross the street. I got bit by a German Shepherd. And I never told my parents because I was so afraid of the whooping I would get if they knew that I had disobeyed them. But let me tell you two things I did not do until years. And it wasn't until I was a junior in high school that I ever approached the dog of my own free will again. And that's only because my parents insisted on getting the dog, and that dog insisted on riding on my lap the whole way home from San Francisco. So we bonded on that trip. But that was a junior in high school, y'all. That's how long it was. And I'll tell you what, even to this day, I'm still a rule follower. Like sometimes I have to challenge myself and say, wait a second, why am I towing this line so carefully? Do I really need to? Is this a rule, or is this just a rule? I don't want that to come out the wrong way. You know what? The Bible says, follow the rules of the land. Hello, sir. I'm so glad that you are on today. Okay, so we have these things that condition us from the time that we were really, really young, and they could be impacting us even to this day, and we may not know. Like, I don't know if it was getting bit by that dog when I disobeyed my mom, if that was the what do you call it? What somebody drop it in the chat for me. The word that the inciting incident, there's a better word for it. There's a much nicer, easier, cooler, not trying to sound like I'm educated word for it. But I do know that in psychology they call it the inciting incident, the thing that happened to make me be a rule follower. I don't know that it is or isn't, but I do know that there are things like that in our lives that color our entire lives. And you could be reacting to it. You could be reacting to it and making mistakes and missing out on opportunities because of something that happened way back in your past. And I can't remember. I tried to use this quote the other day, and I still haven't found out who said it, but I know it wasn't me. I'd like to think I was that smart, but I'm not that smart. I'm smart though, but I'm not that smart. But it was, I think it was Carl Jung that said, if we don't make the unconscious conscious, we will continue to be ruled by it and call it fate. Now, I'm not saying you got to go dig up in your past and find every time you crossed the street and got bit by a dog that's contributed to you not wanting to challenge the rules that somebody else put you in, challenge the box that somebody else put you in. I'm not saying you need to do that. I'm saying realize that there may be a reason you're hesitant to challenge the box somebody put you in, and find a way to challenge the challenge and see if you can't push out of the box. See, I don't need to know that I crossed the street and got bit by a dog, and that from then on, I didn't want to disobey my parents anymore. I don't need to know that something's holding me back and I'm scared to move forward, and I need to just see if I can move forward. See, a lot of times we think we're open-minded about stuff. Okay. We think we're open-minded about stuff. We think we're open to new ideas. We think we're open to new people. We think we're open to this, that, and the other that's going to move us forward. But actually, we're not really open-minded. We're either listening so we can hear, we're either listening so we can give our response. We're listening so we can make the other person feel like that we're listening, but really in our mind we're still thinking our own things, right? And we're not open to what the other person is having to say, the possible applicability into our lives. Now, I'm not saying the only way to show that you're open-minded is every time somebody got a conflicting idea, you change your mind. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is being open-minded is saying, you know what? You come to my page with a different perspective. You drop a comment on one of my things. And instead of just immediately dismissing it, I consider it. I read it. I consider it. I think about where you're coming from. I think about where I'm coming from. I consider what would happen if I adopted that view. How would that play out in my life? Is there any value? Is there any benefit to me in that view? And then I make a decision based on an evaluation of the view. So what I've done now is I have carefully considered the situation. I have applied your viewpoint to my life. I have found it either to be enhancing to my life or found it to be detracting from my life. And I have either decided to accept it, reject it, or modify it. That's being open minded. Okay. And so, because most of us aren't really open minded at our core, we got to practice it being open minded. So, what that looks like in the practice of real estate investing is I'm afraid to move forward. I don't know why I'm afraid to move forward, because I haven't yet remembered that I got bit by a dog back when I was crossing the street when my mama told me not to, right? I don't know why I'm afraid to move forward, but I'm just afraid to move forward. I'm scared to move forward. I may not remember that the reason I'm scared to move forward is because me and my sister or my girlfriend or whoever, we went partners on a building and we lost everything back in our youth. I may not remember that the reason I'm hesitant to move forward is because I fell in love with some smooth talking man, some smooth talking woman, and by the time they were done with me, I was what do they say? Broke, busted, and disgusted, right? That I couldn't even know who I was anymore. I didn't know how to live anymore. I was just a person I don't even want to be anymore. And my subconscious has reacted to that, but my conscious brain doesn't even realize that's what's happening, that's still lodged in there, right? Because I think I've moved on. I've put my crown on and I've moved forward, right? That's how I feel about myself. But at the end of the day, I'm not moving forward. I'm not making offers. I'm not doing the things that JJ teaches about real estate. I'm not going to any real estate investor meetings. I say I'm going to do this. I say I'm going to do that. I do a little bit of research on YouTube. But at the end of the day, when it's time to actually take action, to get up and go and do something, somehow, I'll do it later. And what we don't realize is part of being open-minded is to say, what is that about me that says, I'll do it later? What is it about me that says, it's okay if I lose money on this? Over and over again. It's okay if this person takes advantage of me. It's better to just let them than to keep fighting it. Being open-minded in real estate and about your future is saying, okay, I may not know what this blockage is, but there's a blockage. Let me explore what it would be like to move forward. And I'm inviting you today to come move forward, whether you want to invest in real estate or whether you're just curious about it, whether you want to wholesale, whether you want to flip, whether you want a landlord, whether you want a foreclosure consult, whatever it is that you want to do with real estate, or even if you're not sure you want to do anything with real estate, I'm going to ask you to be open-minded, and I'm going to ask you to take what I share with you tonight and not look at it from the lens of well, will this help me? Will this work for me? But I want you to look at it from the lens of, how can this work for me? Because even if you don't buy a house, this can work for you. Even if you decide you don't want to do wholesaling of real estate, this applies to all kinds of businesses. Even if you decide this is not along your lane, this could still bring an idea for you that allows you to open up another door. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and call up the slides, and we're going to do our real estate investing 101. I'm so excited about this, y'all. It's one of my favorite things to teach. To this lesson this month is Wholesaling 101. We're going to be on wholesaling for a little bit. Normally, I try to go through it all in one day, and we try to cram it all in, and then I don't feel like that's very effective. But the things that I cover in Wholesaling 101, because we always start the year off with it, after our overview, is the foundations of real estate. Okay, so let me come back to me for a second. If you haven't watched my overview last month of 20 plus different ways to invest in real estate, even if you don't buy the house, I encourage you to go look that up on my YouTube. I think it's probably already been taken down off of Facebook, but it should be still on YouTube. And it covers all kinds of different ways to get started in real estate. And we always start off the year with that. And then throughout the rest of the year, we cover different topics. So we cover wholesaling, we cover driving for dollars, we cover tax sales, And then we cover whatever the group wants, whatever the Building Wealth Together group wants to cover, whatever topics. Usually it's things like creative financing, private lending. Last year, I think we did foreclosure consulting. That was a lot of fun. Sometimes we've dug into note buying. I've had other people who are experts in other areas of real estate come in and talk about those. So it's kind of a mix and a match, and it's whatever you fit. But today's lesson is a foundation for all of them, because we're going to talk about valuing properties. We're going to talk about finding properties. We're going to talk about finding people to sell those properties too. We're going to talk about finding more investors. And these are all the ingredients that you need to be a savvy real estate investor. Anybody can go out and buy a house at retail off the MLS and put a renter in there at market rates and then pay out of pocket market rates for their trades to come repair things. But if you do that, you're not really going to make the kind of money that real estate investing makes. In fact, you're probably going to lose money. And since I'm the queen of cash flow, I don't want you losing money. The whole goal of everything we do is to put more money in your pocket, to have more money left at the end of the month. So I don't want to do something that's going to take money away. I want to do things that are going to put more money into your life, into your wallet, into your future, funding your dreams for the future. That's what I want. Okay. So as we talk about wholesaling, we're going to cover a lot of juicy bits. I just want to remind everybody that these classes, I am teaching you content. Oh, I'm putting it back on me for this again, y'all. I'm teaching you content. I am teaching you content that is worth several $1,000s through these Thursday night classes. Every third Thursday is real estate. Although next month it'll be adjusted because of spring break. But every third Thursday is real estate. And I am teaching you stuff that if you went somewhere else, you would pay thousands of dollars for just this level of education, this level of detail. And to go into any of my additional workshops, instead of just paying $20.23 to come on my Driving for Dollars tour or to come in person and do a hands-on workshop, you would be paying, again, thousands of dollars. When I first wrote Wholesaling 101, this was back in 2014 when I first taught Wholesaling 101. I was charging $200 to be in that class, and people were filling it up back then. Okay, so let's and we have stepped the price up. But what I'm doing now is more of kind of a give back. So I want you to understand there are other people that will charge you, $5, $10, $18,000 to learn how to do this. So please, sir, please, ma'am, please find your way to contribute to our Global Youth Initiative. These classes that I do, they are fundraisers for our Global Youth Initiative. 100% of the proceeds that I receive from teaching these classes goes to the Global Youth Initiative. All right. And clearly that's an old slide because we are not doing Healing My Sisters in March this year. We are doing a women's investment thing, and Women Building Wealth Together is moved back to fall. So oops, I should have updated my slides, but look, that Cash App, Queen of Cash Flow, that PayPal or Cash App, that is still good for a Global Youth Initiative. We do the Global Youth Initiative of Northwest Louisiana and the Global Youth Initiative of Erath County. We help kids become confident leaders, global leaders. All right. So I've kind of talked, I didn't talk through this yet, but this is who I am. I've already spent a lot of mindset time. I want to get to the meat. But I want you to know that I've done the thing. Okay. I've made the mistakes. I've learned why debt doesn't work for a lot of people. Now, and I'm not saying it doesn't work for anybody. There are a lot, oh my goodness, y'all. There are a lot of investors out there who will tell you how much debt works for them. I met a really good one the other day, and he was an excellent educator, stand-up guy. And I was like, you know what? I don't teach debt, but you've got such good energy. I want you in front of my audience. I was like, all I need you to do is be respectful of the fact that I don't teach debt. I get you do what you do, but I don't teach debt. The problem that I have with that is even a lot of people, I have had people literally argue with me live, like on my platform or their platform, about leveraging debt for real estate. And every single one of them that has done that, not every single person I know who's used leverage debt for real estate, but every person who's gone and beat me up about leveraging debt and why I should do it like they do, every single one of them has had a situation happen in the market where they stopped making the money they needed to. Their vacancies were too high. This didn't come through like it needed to. That didn't come through. And I'm not even talking about the pandemic, y'all. I'm talking about just life and the ebb and flow of real estate. And next thing you know, they were resorting to underhanded techniques because they needed to make money in a hurry. And the way I teach about real estate, it's not fast and furious, but it works. And it works so nicely, you can sleep well at night. You don't have to have pressure to put a faulty renter in somewhere and they're going to tear your house up. You can take your time and find the right person who's going to be there in your property for years and years and years. All of my properties that I have that are rented out, all of my properties that are rented out, the tenant has been in there 7 years or longer. Okay. So I know I'm coming due for a vacancy, but I just want you to see that this stuff works. Okay. And the thing about it is when those tenants move out, I'm not going to stress about trying to put somebody else in that property. I'm going to take my time and find the right tenant, the next tenant that's going to be in there for another 7 to 10 years. All right. All right. So let me go back to slides. So that's me. That's me. Oops. That's me. And, I'm going to skip a few slides here. I really do encourage you to watch the one we did last month because I really talk about my big why. I talk about the neighborhoods that I've lived in or that I have property in and things like that, and why it's so important to me to build wealth through real estate. But I want to go ahead and cover just a quick little bit of theory for those of you who weren't here last month. This is my list of 20 different ways to invest in real estate, okay? And with this list, these ones that I have shaded in blue, if you're listening on free conference call, you can't see this. So I encourage you to go out to YouTube and look at this broadcast. But the ones I have shaded in blue here, those are the ones that you can easily profit even if you don't buy the property. You can still profit through these other ones without buying the property. I mean, you can transaction engineer and stuff, but this is the easier way to these ones here in blue are easier to easily. There is a way to easily profit without buying the property. And the ones in green that I have highlighted in the first column, those are the ones that you can profit when you don't have any money to start. So all those times that we feel like the only way you can build wealth is to be rich already because the rich get richer and the poor go poorer, well, you can use these strategies to elevate your financial standing. You can use these strategies to elevate your financial situation. You can use these strategies to make money that then can translate into building your real estate, your investment, your business empire. I love real estate because it is the only ethical, repeatable way that I have personally, with my own eyes, seen people build financial independence in as little as 3 years. There's a lot of things that people say and a lot of things that people do, but I personally see phenomenal results with real estate. Now, at the time that I wrote this slide, I was seeing really good results with crypto. Crypto had that big crash and shakeup of last year. I am again seeing good results with crypto, but I don't consider that an investment on the same order that I consider real estate an investment. It is a wonderful way to build wealth because it's ethical and repeatable. Okay. That means that it can work for you, it can work for me, it can work for him, it can work for her. Okay. Especially will work if you follow the number one rule of real estate investing, which is to make your money when you buy. Let me say that again. You make your money when you buy. And let me say it one more time for the people in the back. You make your money when you buy. And that means you're not just buying a property. You're not just buying a property at retail and hoping it goes up in value one day. You're buying a property that you've evaluated the numbers and you know that when that ink dries on that contract that you've signed, when the ink dries on those closing documents, you have already profited from that property. You've got significant amount of equity. If you have to sell it in a hurry, you can. And you have run the numbers and you know that you have already profited. Are we always 100% on that? Well, of course not. That's what makes those flipping shows so much fun, right? But for the most part, if you can acquire a property at 70 to 80% of the value, so you're paying only 70 to 80% of what that property is actually worth. That property will make you money all day long. That kind of property will be able to be sold in a hurry if you need to. That kind of property will immediately result in cash flow. Okay. That sounds real simple, right? It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody'd be rich. But it's not easy to find. It's simple concept, but it's not easy to find properties like that. And so a lot of times what I recommend is for people who don't have a lot of time, I mean, there's people who don't have a lot of money to just go out there and buy things or to pay other people to find things for them, then I recommend that you start with bird dogging and wholesaling. Okay. Bird dogging and wholesaling um, are like finding properties for investors. In bird dogging, you find it, you tell them about it, they do all the heavy lifting, and they might get you a finder's fee in the states that allow it. Okay. Some states don't allow it. Wholesaling is like bird dogging. You're basically finding the property and you're passing that property off to another investor. But in this case, you're doing the heavy lifting. In wholesaling, you're doing the heavy lifting of locking down the price of that property with a contract. And what you do is you assign that contract to another investor, or you create a limited partnership with that other investor, and then you buy them out or they buy you out. I'm sorry, I said that wrong the first time. They buy you out at closing or quickly thereafter. Okay. Because you are saving the investor a huge amount of time and money for finding the property and locking it down on a contract, you are well compensated. So on $100,000 house, you can expect to make $3,000 to $5,000 because you did the legwork to lock down the price. This saves the investor a whole lot of time. See, if I know that you can find a property where I can get a nice discount from it, well, I'm going to be very willing to pay you because that property acquired at a discount is going to make me my money many times over that I paid you. And so that's why I say, yes, you can absolutely get paid for this because you are going to give the investor a return on investment. And I have a question here. Would you spend $5,000 for a guaranteed 50,000? I absolutely would all day long. And that's why we want to build our investor network, because when we find a property that's really juicy and we can lock it down under contract with a really good price, if we know investors who really want to buy properties, we pass that contract off to them, collect our 3, 5, 10, $20,000, and they go work on the house, they flip the house or they landlord the house or whatever they decide to do with the house, and we take that check to the bank. We take that check to pay down debt. We take that check to pay for our kids' college. We take that check to buy our next car. We take that check to fund our next vacation. And, depending on where you like to shop, we take that check for a shopping spree. All right. This is a very, very, very powerful technique. And yes, you can get paid good money for it. So you might ask, well, if we can get paid good money for doing this, why isn't everybody doing it? The reason a lot of people don't last in wholesaling, don't start wholesaling, don't continue in wholesaling, don't profit from wholesaling is because it's a numbers game and people get tired of playing. Life really seems, I said in the beginning how a lot of financial concepts really seem to go across all of the disciplines of abundance. So, working out, developing good, solid relationships, everything like that, right? People get tired of the day in, day out grind. They get tired of the little concessions every day. They want to just do one big thing, just want to push my easy button and make it just happen right away, right? But that's not how wholesaling is. So let me pull up this slide. This is pretty cool. Okay, it's a numbers game, and almost every sales or anything like that you do is a numbers game. So let's say you as a wholesaler, you make 100 offers on different properties in your town. Now, if you live in a smaller area, more rural style area like I do, you may not be making those offers in your actual town. You may have to go to a larger market. But let's just say you've got a healthy real estate market. Out of 100 offers, you might get 10 or 15 that are willing to negotiate. Guess what the other 85 to 90 of them are doing? They are ignoring you. They don't even say anything. They don't even say no. They don't even say, how dare you insult me with such a low offer? Because you will be sending out low offers if you're going to invest like a real estate investor, right? Right? We're not doing any retail offers in this class. That's not how we invest in real estate without taking on more debt. So out of those 10 to 15 people that will respond and might be willing to negotiate, most of them are going to fall by the wayside, but 5 to 7 of them are abouts will end up going under contract. And of those that actually go under contract, 2 or 3 of them, that contract, you'll be able to wholesale that to an investor. And out of that gets wholesaled to an investor, I'm estimating you will actually get one fat payday, because this investor is going to realize it's going to take more time to repair it than he thought. That investor is going to realize that there's probably mold or something in the walls, and she doesn't want to deal with that. And so out of every 2 or 3 that you get a contract actually assigned to purchased by an investor or committed to by an investor, you can expect one fat payday. So this can be very frustrating for a lot of people, because they're like, I got to make 100 calls to get one check. Yeah, but let me tell you how I look at it. If I want a check, I know that each check I want is about 100 calls. And so for me, I'm like, let me get to smiling and dialing. Let me get my script out and let me call these, because every 100 that I work on, if I follow the scripts and if I follow the techniques that I've been given that are very easy to do, that the things that I teach are very easy to do. I've been, at the time that I was doing this, I was a single mom, a single military mom. I didn't have time for anything that was complicated. It had to be easy, or I wasn't going to be able to get it done. And it had to be stuff that I could do in bite-sized chunks of time, because I didn't have all day. It's like people who talk about all day on their phones, right? Like, I didn't have all day on my phone. My phone was locked up in the secure area because I was working in a secure area. I couldn't be on the phone or on the internet all day long. I had to do things in an easy, systemic way, a nice process that you could follow. And that's what I teach. And this process will get you to the payday. But instead of looking at it like, 100 offers to get one payday, look at it this way. Look at it as, I control my destiny. I control my destiny. I control my destiny. I get the list of expireds. I get the list of for sale by owners. I get the list of whoever fill in the blank, or I work through a realtor and MLS in a larger market where you can make 100 offers a week. And I know that if I will hoof it and make at least 100 offers a month, I should be able to get a deal closed once per month. If I really can work it and get 100 offers out a week, then I know that I can get paid on average about once a week, $3 to $5 to $10 to $20,000. Is there anybody on the line today that wouldn't like an extra $3,000 a week? Drop it in the chat if you would. What could you do with an extra? Let's not even do week, because I know that $100 calls scares people. But can you make 100 calls in a month? Can you make 20 weekdays in a month? Can you make 5 calls? Can you make 5 calls on a Monday? Can you make 5 calls on a Tuesday? Let's do 100 calls a month. That's 5 calls a day during weekdays. What could you do? What could you do with an extra $3, $5, $20,000 depending on your market every month? For some of you, that will change your life. An extra $3,000 a month would change your life. And I'm here to tell you, you can absolutely do it if you follow a very simple process that you can implement. It's simple, but it's not easy. It's not easy because people don't like rejection. People don't like being laughed at. People don't like others being offended of them. But you know what? I don't care how offended the other 99 got. All I care about is the one fat payday. Now, if you have any questions on what I'm talking about today, I encourage you to drop them in the chat. I'm going to take a quick pause and check my free conference call meeting wall and see if anybody's raised their hands. I don't see any hands raised on free conference call. So if you're listening on free conference call, or if you're listening to this after the fact as part of the Building Wealth Together podcast, I highly encourage you to join us every Thursday night, 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern, and we go live and I answer questions. I have the topic that I'm teaching on. Sometimes it's straight Q&A. We have a set schedule for them. Every third Thursday is real estate. And so you can come on and ask your questions and get them answered. This is an opportunity for you to get world-class financial education absolutely free. And I'm telling you right now, there are people who've paid thousands upon thousands of dollars for the things that I share with you. And the reason I share it free is because I remember what it was like to be $800,000 in debt. I remember what it was like to be making a six-figure paycheck and have a fairly high rank in the United States Air Force and not be able to put food on my table. I remember what it was like to be in that position and have that rank and have that clout and have that paycheck and still go around from grocery store to grocery store eating all the free samples because that's how I fed my kid that night. And so even though I've kind of grown to a position where, I'm in a place where people pay me anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000 to come in to their organizations and do, hands-on financial or corporate education with their people, I still want to create a pathway for people who are in a situation like I was in. And so I'm encouraging you today. A lot of times we don't value things that are of no cost, but you are spending your time. And I really do believe the time is the most valuable resource you have. So if you have a question for me and you're watching live, I encourage you to drop it in the chat. If you are watching me after the fact, or if you're listening as part of the Building Wealth Together podcast, then I want to encourage you to go to I want to encourage you to ask your questions at askjjc.com. I'm looking for a banner so I can put that on the thing, and I guess I don't have one. Oh, I would make one, but I don't want to have any more issues with this here. Well, it's right here, but we're not. This is the wrong StreamYard link. That's from a different StreamYard. But you can fill out the form at askjjc.com, and you can get your questions answered in the next one. Okay. I always check them before we go. All right. So let me give you some gotchas about this wholesaling, because it sounds so good, doesn't it? Doesn't that just sound so good? My goodness, I can make 100 phone calls, make 100 offers submitted. I can make 100 appointments, and I can control my destiny because I can control the numbers. If I can't control the numbers in the market where I live, well, I can go somewhere nearby where I can control the numbers where it's a larger market. Here in Erath County, I think the whole county's got like 60,000 people total, and I think 20 of them live in Stephenville. And I'm not even sure if that's when Tarleton's in session or out of session. I think it doesn't include Tarleton because I think it's based on census data. And I don't think census data puts students living here. It sends them home in the census, right? But if I drive 45 minutes north, I can hit Weatherford and I can hit Fort Worth, and I can then keep going another hour and hit Dallas. You know what I'm saying? So there's markets there where I can do more work where I can get in my locality is not enough. Okay. So I want you to be encouraged that you can control your destiny. But there is a big gotcha that I want you to understand about all this. Okay. You see these things on late night TV, you go to these conferences in the hotel, and I don't knock all the conferences in the hotels. I host conferences in the hotels. Like, I want you to come to my conference in the hotel, right? We're going to start teaching this class in my new office location in Granbury, Texas. So every third Thursday, I'm going to be schlepping over to Granbury, and we're going to be teaching this class in either the conference room or, as it grows, that main flex space area. I'm very excited about that. But it's not a no money down, no nothing down. It's not a wish upon a star and all your dreams to come true. You've got to spend time and energy to do this, and time and money is energy. Okay. And so the time that you spend doing real estate, that's time you're not spending with your family. The time you spend doing real estate, that's time you're not spending taking care of your health. So you have to understand there is an opportunity cost and there is an investment cost. Investment cost means what I'm putting into it, right? Opportunity cost means what I'm missing out on by doing this. So if I choose to spend this hour with you, I am not spending it with my husband. I am spending it with you. And me and my husband have determined that is of value to us because I spend this hour with you. I give you free content. A certain percentage of y'all are going to want to take things deeper. You're going to want to engage me as your financial planner, as your real estate coach. And I'm going to walk you down that lane, and I'm going to be well compensated for my time. But for the most part, most of the people who come on, it's a give back. And me and my husband have already made that a value, right? So we have let go of something of one value for something of higher value. But I'm going to tell you right now, if I came out here every single night and taught for 2 or 3 hours every single night, oh, Mr. Man would have something to say about that. So we want to understand that these things are not really free. And so we want to make sure that as we are building our empire, we bring our family along with us and we bring ourself along with us. You know this little statement here. If you're listening on free conference call, if you're listening to this as part of the Building Wealth Together podcast after we edit it, you'll know you won't see this, but I'm going to read it to you. I have in green bold letters here at the bottom of the slide. You have to value you before another investor will. And one of the things I want you to do, one of the things I want you to take away from this class is that no matter how enticing the money gets, you have to invest holistically. And by investing holistically, I mean you are investing your time, your energy, your resources, your all into something. But make sure it's done in concert with the entire picture, because you don't want to become this huge, amazing millionaire real estate investor and your wife and kids leave you. Okay? I know people that this has happened to. All right. So you want to bring the things that are important with you when you start. You want them to still be there. The things, the people, the ministries, the callings. You want all that to still be a part of your life every step of this journey. Whew. All right. All right. All right. Let me get off my soapbox. I'm just so passionate about this stuff, you know. All right. So I am going to do a very, very basic summary today of wholesaling, and then we're going to go into a little bit of this, but we're going to save more of the juicier how-tos on some of these things for later. But I'm going to give you some how-tos today. Okay. How far we get though is going to depend on the questions that are asked, because I want to make sure that you all are getting what you want and what you need out of the class today. And it's also going to depend on how long it takes me to explain each concept, because I'm not trying to rush through it like I normally would. All right. So here's really the kinds of things that I like people to start off with for investing, for wholesaling. So these are the things, let me say that again. These are the things that I would like people to start off with when it comes to wholesaling. I encourage everybody who wants to wholesale. And like we said before, wholesaling is when you find a property for somebody else. You lock it down under contract, okay? You lock it down under contract, and then you sell that contract, assign that contract, get bought out of that contract, however it works that's legal in your state. You somehow pass that contract to somebody else who's going to actually buy the house, close on the house, pay the money for the house, put their name or their business name on the deed for the house. And they're going to be the ones that create the end process for the house. They're going to either flip it, they're going to renovate it, they're going to landlord it, they're going to convert it, they're going to do whatever they're going to do to it. You are not the one that does that. You are the one that finds the deal. You're the one that negotiates a good price. And then you hand that price over to somebody else who's going to do the real heavy lifting. But you are saving that person so much time and money with them not having to find the property and them not having to negotiate, that you are well compensated for your time and your energy. Okay. That's really what wholesaling is at the end of the day. And so to do that, you want to build your investor list. You want to know what kind of properties they like, and then you want to look for those properties. And so I recommend in almost every real estate class that I teach that you join a reputable real estate investment association, REIA. Some of them will also be called real estate investment groups, REIGs, and there's other variations, but that's basically the thing. That's basically what you're going to find, okay? And so you've got to know that even when you're in that situation, because if you wait, how do I want to say this? If you don't already have experience in a field related to real estate. So if you're not already a home inspector, let me get that pink thing down. Hold on. Okay. If you're not already accomplished in something related to real estate. So you're not already a home inspector, you're not already a realtor, you're not already a plumber or an electrician or a carpenter or something like that, where you can kind of look at a property and see what it needs, or you've had experience in getting things done and you know how to get things done cheaply. Like if you're the kind of person that if a water pipe breaks and you got to go in the yellow pages and call a retail plumber to come help you, you know, this is not experience in the real estate that I'm talking about. The experience in the real estate that I'm talking about is somebody who knows how to value properties. They know how to look at a property and see what kind of repairs. They know how to have a team, or they already have a team of people that they can reach out to when something happens, so they don't have to pay retail rates. Okay. That's what I'm talking about already knowing about real estate. But a lot of us don't have that when we start out. And with me, because I moved so much in the military, I would move to a new location and I might know a lot about real estate in this state, but I don't know about real estate in this state. And so even like now, I moved to Texas. And it's funny because somebody in one of the groups, he was like, you could teach what my group is learning. I was like, I can't teach it in Texas. I don't know the rules in Texas. I don't know what landlords do in Texas. I don't know what gotchas there are in Texas. So I don't want to teach in Texas till I get more hands-on experience and get under the wing of some experienced investors in Texas that can lead me in the way that I need to go. Okay. So, but a lot of us don't have that when we start off, and you think, well, how am I ever going to get anywhere? Well, you get started. But you understand that because you're new, a lot of experienced investors probably aren't going to be interested in the contracts you bring their way, because they're going to assume you don't know what you're talking about. So that's why I encourage people to be very accurate as you can to find out the property values, what it's really worth when it sells, what it's really going to need to be repaired. There are ways to do this without spending a whole lot of money so that you can represent value to the other investors. And once one or two people who like to invest realize that you bring them good deals, oh, you're not going to have to hurt for good deals. It's like the floodgates come open and all the investors want to get on your list. Speaking of lists, I want you to remember that real estate is a numbers game. It's not just a numbers game in getting a contract, or getting a property under contract. I make 100 offers, 10 to 15 of them might want to talk with me and negotiate. 5 to 7 of those might want to actually sign up, and we're going to say, okay, we come to an agreement. We're going to sign on the dotted line. But only a handful of those are going to be closed to an investor, and only one of those is likely to actually result in a paycheck. Now, if you have a bigger network, if you have more experience in negotiating, all those different things add up, and it can make it a higher close rate, right? But on average, we have to understand it's a numbers game, and one of the numbers is also finding investors to buy your deals. So this is the offer side. Go back. This is the offer side of it, right? But see this 2 to 3 wholesale to an investor, that's a whole nother pyramid. So you have to keep both aspects of your pipeline flowing. You have to find investors. You have to figure out who actually is doing the thing and not just saying they're going to invest. And then you have to learn how to develop an eye for repairs. Now, you don't have to learn how to identify an eye for repairs. It helps. But I had a person who did their own investing, and every house that she took us to, the repairs were like $60,000. And I was like, so this one you said needed cosmetic, but it turns out to be 60,000. This one needed a full gut, but it turns out to be 60,000. I was like, you know what? From now on, when I invest in this area, this neighborhood, I was like, I'm just gonna assume 60,000, and that way I can make my offers faster. I don't recommend you do that if you're not familiar with the neighborhood, right? But again, it's a numbers game, but you need to know who's really doing things, and you need to know how to find a good group of investors, which one of this is that area. I love this picture. If you're listening on a free conference call, or if you're listening to the podcast after the fact, you got to go out to Facebook or YouTube, and it says it's got this beat down old shack. It says, it's as if I was the wholesaler, right? I'm the wholesaler bringing you this deal. I'm telling you, hey, this property is worth $200,000 after repaired value. It only needs $10,000. I mean, it only needs $10,000 worth of repair. And by the way, my wholesale fee to bring you this deal, $5,000. That is a fail. And if you don't understand why that's a fail, you will understand by the time I finish part 2 of this Wholesaling 101 workshop. All right. So now I am not digging super deep into these steps today. Okay. The steps that I'm going to share with you It's a whole day workshop. These are the slides from a whole day workshop, and I'm cutting some of them short so I can squeeze it into an hour today and an hour next week, which we're about at an hour now. Yeah, we're about an hour, but I'm at least going to cover the steps. Just give you an overview of the steps. We're going to go into some detail on these, okay? Let me make this so you all can see me. Oop, not that one. I don't know if I like that one. Nope, not that one. Okay, I guess that's it. I'm gonna give you this list. You can already see it. If you're screenshot, remember to send me something at Queen of Cash Flow, either on PayPal or on a Cash App. It is a donation for our Global Youth Initiative. These are the steps. I'm going to cover these steps next week. I'm going to cover them. I'm going to spend about maybe 5 to 7 or so minutes on each step, okay, the little steps on how to do this. However, if you know that this is something that you're going to want to do, if this is something that really you're excited about and you want to dig deeper, I want you to PM me. I want you to reach out to me, because I'm going to put together a full day workshop, okay? I'm going to put together a full day workshop. We're going to price it very, very reasonably. There is going to be a cost, because I'm going to give you copies of my contracts and all that, all of that. And so there's a cost, there's a blood, sweat, and tears cost associated with obtaining those. There's also a no kidding cost, like some of the things like my inner city lease and some of that other stuff. Those are things I literally paid for. And so I'm taking my, tens of thousands of dollars of real estate investment education, and I'm distilling it down for you in a one-day workshop. So there is going to be a cost associated with it, but I'm going to actually overview these steps next month, and then we're going to sit down and do a hands-on, how do you do this workshop? And at the end of that workshop, depending on the situation and who can attend, we're going to do a Driving for Dollars 101. So I'm very excited about that. But these are the wholesaling steps that we want to be aware of. And I really like making things a process, okay? I really like making things a process, because that could be very overwhelming. We can feel like, oh my goodness, there's all these different things that I have to remember, and all these different things that can go wrong, and all these different things that are, pockets of money here and there and everywhere, and all these different things. And it's just so much sometimes that it can be overwhelming. But I find that when you distill everything down to a process, then it's not so overwhelming. Okay. So let me go ahead and give you an overview of this, because we're almost at an hour. And then next month, I'm going to dig into the actual details of it, and we're going to go step by step. But I'm going to dig into the details, but I'm not going to dig into the details. That's going to be in the workshop, because I just don't have at my command the amount of time I would need to really equip you to do everything. Okay, because you don't want me to just tell you build your buyers list. You want to sit down with me and go through the same scripts that I use, and go through the same contracts that I use. And you want to understand those contracts. You want to understand all that stuff, right? Like, you don't want to just, oh, by the way, build your buyers list. Okay. So for those of you who are just joining us, that's what I'm going to do for the next couple of minutes. I'm going to go kind of summarize these, and you can see them on the screen here. But next week, we're going to go step by step, and we're going to talk about wholesaling. But what I've given you today is a foundation that will serve you well if this is something that you're interested in doing, so that you can be better prepared for next month. And so how do you get better prepared to work these steps? Well, between now and then, what I'm going to recommend that you do, hold on, let me get here. Between now and next month, when we do the Wholesaling 101 Part 2, I recommend that you take some time to go on Realtor.com. I prefer to use Realtor.com, not Zillow or any of these other estimate websites, okay? But go into Realtor.com. If you're in a market where Realtor.com shows you the sold, that's even better, okay? Some markets don't. I found out recently Texas is a non-disclosure state, so they don't have to tell you how much it was paid for a house. So when you're in Maryland, if you go into the land records in Maryland, you can see what somebody paid for the house. You can see what taxes they have due. You can see whether or not they paid their taxes. You can see what they paid for the house and what mortgage is on the house. So maybe they contracted the house for $500,000, but they put 20% down, so they only took a $400,000 mortgage. Like, you get all the information in Maryland. one, right? Like, so each state, each jurisdiction, they do it differently. And so if you're in a jurisdiction that your realtor.com shows you sold, that's the gold standard of valuation. I would encourage you to play around with the area that you live in and look for pockets where the houses are pretty much the same. Most neighborhoods, the houses will be pretty much the same in value. And I want you to just kind of play around with, okay, what's the average value of a house in this little neighborhood, in these couple of streets, and then what's for sale. And just do some research, and you bring that research with you next month, and then that will help you as we step through these steps. Okay, so the steps we're going to go through next month, we're going to talk about building your buyer's list. Okay, we're going to talk about finding the properties, and there's two different ways of finding properties. One, we're prospecting. That is where we're going out and we're finding the things that are already listed for sale. But then we're also marketing. We're getting people to call us. Okay, we're going to talk about both of those. Both are essential. Okay, now I put build your buyer's list at the top, but actually 1 and 2 need to be done at the same time, because not only is it a chicken and egg scenario, what comes first, the deal or the investor to buy it from you, right? But it's also 2 sets of pyramids. So you've got to meet a lot of investors to figure out which ones are really doing the deal. And you got to make a lot of offers on real estate to figure out which one is going to be the best fit to help you make the money that you need to make. All right. And so you do both of those steps at the same time. And once you find a good candidate property, then you do the research to determine ownership and value. Well, guess what? What was the homework I just gave you? I said, look at the area you want to invest in and determine what the sold prices are of the properties in that neighborhood. Why did I recommend that you do that? Because 80, 90-ish% of the value of the home is location, location, location. So retail and commercial, those kinds of properties, your strip malls, your office space, they're calculated differently. But retail, residential properties, single family homes, maybe even to some extent duplexes, it really boils down to what are people willing to pay to live in this area. Is it desirable enough that they're willing to pay more, or is it undesirable enough that they're willing to pay less? But generally speaking, you have some that are a little higher, you'll have some that are a little lower. But generally speaking, all the properties in that neighborhood, in that adjoined section, in that area, that's all together there, whatever you call it, the subdivision, generally speaking, those prices are going to be about the same. So if I know that in this section of Stephenville, all of these houses around me sold for $200,000 a pop, and then one over there sold for 300,000, and then one over here maybe sold for 50. Well, I can look around and say, okay, I think about the average of this properties is 200,000. So when I see a candidate property and the shrubs are all overgrown, I can say, in this neighborhood, most properties are worth about $200,000, give or take a bathroom or a bedroom or something like that. This property is probably worth $200,000. And that starts my framework. So you want to do the research to kind of know what areas you want to market in. And I promise you, you don't have to drive 3 or 4 hours or invest in other states or do something sight unseen to make your money. There's acres of diamonds all around you. Okay. So you're going to build your buyer's list of people who are going to be able to close on the deals that you find. You're going to find candidate properties, because in order for them to close on the deals and pay you, you got to have something for them to buy, right? I'm going to teach you 2 different ways to do it. I'm going to teach you prospecting to find properties. I'm going to teach you marketing to find properties. All right. You want to research to determine the ownership and the value. How much is this property worth? Is it owned by the person who's in it? Is it vacant? What are the details behind ownership and value? Remembering that we want to make our money when we buy. And then you come up with a price that's usually about half of what you think it should be. And you make offers until you get those properties under contract. And maybe you don't get that property under contract, but there'll be another one and another one and another one. That's why I recommend you shoot for at least 5 offers a day, 5 phone calls a day, 5 attempts a day. That puts you at about 100 per month, and you will be able to be successful. Okay. You get the property under contract, you sell or assign that contract to an investor on your list, and then when it comes to closing, you collect your fee. I'll go over number 7 in a later slide, but I think this is where we're going to wrap up for the day, because I want to, once I get into that, I know I'm going to want to get into that. And so I hope this has been very educational and informative and encouraging for you. I want to encourage you to come back next month when we go into the 7 steps to wholesaling, and we go into more detail about each one. I also encourage you, if you are local, so that you're in the Stephenville, Granbury corridor, right? You can get down to Granbury. I encourage you to sign up for the next workshop, or to even attend the Thursday night class in person. But I encourage you to sign up for the actual wholesaling workshop, where we're not only going to go into the details of the step, but we're going to have hands-on practice, and you're going to walk away with a packet of contracts. Oh, it's one of my favorite things to teach, and I love equipping new investors to be able to win with money. And so I encourage you to do that next time. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to check the comments for questions. I'm going to check the free conference call for hands raised. And then the last thing I'm going to check is I'm going to check Ask JJC to see if anybody has a question that's been submitted. And so those are the 3 things that I'm going to check. Okay, I have nothing heard on free conference call. I don't see any hands raised on free conference call. I don't see any comments in the chat from all these different Facebook. Wow, I got all these people. I got all these different groups and YouTube channels and LinkedIn's and all that. And nobody's got a question for me. Nobody's got a question for me. Wow, I must have done a great job of explaining it. Yeah. I'm gonna choose to think positively until proven otherwise. All right. Let me go check the Ask JJC. Excuse me. That one takes a little bit longer to pull up, because I got to go in it. I got to get in Google, and I got to go into Sheets, and I got to do this and this, that, and that, and so it takes a little bit longer. All right, let's okay, let's see. It says there were questions submitted, but I'm trying to find them, because that looks like the same one I answered last week. Okay. How do you invest in real estate without getting into more debt? Okay. Great question. So this question is about how do you get, excuse me. This question is about how do you invest in real estate without going into more debt? And this is a really great question. Okay. I'm going to call up a slide. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the question was, how can you invest in real estate without going into more debt? Okay, and so this is the most common method that people who I know who did real estate without going into debt, this is the most common way that they have done so. Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Okay, what they do is they wholesale. They know that an investor who's about to make $50,000 on a house is willing to pay $5,000 to you for finding it for them and locking it down with a contract. You know, if they're making $100,000 off that house, they're willing to pay you, 10, maybe even 20,000. You know, if I looked at you as a vending machine, I put $20,000 in, and every time I get $80,000 back out, I'm going to do that all day long. I'm going to do that all day long, and I'm going to rinse and repeat. And so, for example, the house I have, one of my houses that I have, y'all hear me talk about this a lot. It's my $3,000 house. I got a house that I paid $3,000 for. Technically, though, I didn't just pay $3,000 for it. I paid $3,000 for it in purchase price, but I also paid $3,000 to Alan Shanker, who found me the house. He was the wholesaler. He does marketing in his neighborhoods that he serves, and it brings in leads. And this lead was like a friend of a friend or an old friend or something like that who had passed away, and his son didn't want to take care of the property. And it had a fire and it had some other things. So it needed more work than I probably realized when I went into it, but it was my first project that I did all by myself. And even though I'd done projects with others, there's always something about doing it yourself. And so I didn't know what I didn't know, but I do know more now. But there's always something when you uncover the walls. But that property has made me over $100,000. So was it worth it for me that I paid Alan a $3,000 finder's fee, wholesale fee, assignment fee, whatever you want to call it? Is it worth it to me to put $3,000 in his pocket? Of course it is. He put $100,000 in my pocket. It's a wonderful, wonderful construct. And as you begin to build up those checks, as you begin to build up those $3,000, those $5,000, those $10,000, those $20,000 checks, you take that money, you get out of debt, you build up your savings, you save up for your own personal house if that's something you want. You save up to put your kids through college if that's something that you want. There's so many creative ways to do those things. But at the end of the day, you take that money, you save it up until you are ready to buy a house, to investment property, and then you buy it in cash. You can't buy a house in cash. You can't buy a house in cash. They're too expensive. I've been working with somebody for 2 years who maybe makes $100,000 a year, was steeped in debt when we met, and she's about to buy an $85,000 house cash, free and clear, y'all. It can be done. And one of the ways you invest in real estate without taking on more debt, there are others, and we'll talk about them throughout the course of the year when we talk about creative financing, we talk about subject to, things like that. But one of the best ways to work in real estate without going into debt is to start wholesaling. Get a $5,000 check over here, $10,000 check over there, $20,000 check over here, save them all up, buy a property for yourself. Wholesale, 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 take the money, buy a property. Wholesale, 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 take the money, buy a property. I mean, stop and think about this for a second. We established earlier that $3,000, $3,000 to $5,000 for most of you would change your life. An extra $3,000 to $5,000 every month would change your life. Well, let's say you cranked up the numbers, because with wholesaling, you are in control of your numbers, right? You are in control of your numbers. You are in control of your life. And so you say, well, you know what? I like making an extra $3,000 to $5,000 a month. That's 100 offers a month. Well, I'm going to do 100 offers a week. I'm going to do 100 offers a week. That's $20,000 in a month. Tell me nobody in this forum can tell me they can't live well off of $20,000 a month. Although I'll admit there are times when that kind of money gets spent pretty easy, but you can live well off of $20,000 a month. You know what else you can do off of $20,000 a month extra? You can put 10 of that towards savings for the next property and still live off of 10,000, and every year have 120,000 to go buy a house. Even if you live in an expensive market where you can't buy stuff for 85 and 100,000. Maybe, people talk to me all the time. Well, I can't invest in DC. The houses are $900,000. Okay, well, you can't invest in DC at $900,000 right now, but hop on over to Capitol Heights. They're still in the 180s to 250s. Find a way to make it work. Be open-minded. That's what we talked about in the beginning, the being open-minded. So instead of saying, oh, I can't do that because I don't have $900,000 to buy this in DC, instead of looking at it for what you can't do, let's look at what you can do. And what I can do is say, okay, well, I don't have $900,000, and to save up $900,000, if I'm making an extra 20 a month with wholesaling, is going to take me, oh, I don't know, the rest of my adult life. So instead of stressing about that, let's just say, okay, well, I may not have $100,000, so I'm not investing here, but at $20 a month, $20,000 a month extra, that's $240,000 a year. My goodness, even if you didn't do your own investing, even if you just saved that money in 4 years, you'd have $1 million. Can you buy a house for $1 million? I don't know of any market that you still can't buy a house for $1 million. That's 4 years. And it's not going to take you 4 years, because if you're doing that kind of hustling, you're getting good at real estate fairly quickly. It doesn't take long to get good at this, and you're going to be buying your properties, and that growth accelerates. I'm telling you, this doesn't have to take very long to work and be profitable. And I'm telling you about a method. You're not even buying the house. You're simply finding the deals. You're locking them under contract. You're assigning or selling that contract to another investor. Think about how much more powerful it would be as if you're keeping the real estate yourself. Anybody under the sound of my voice right now who is willing to put in the work and the effort and the phone calls, okay, can be creating an extra $20,000 a month with these techniques that I'm sharing with you. And if you're creating an extra $20,000 a month with this that I'm sharing with you, even if you don't buy any real estate, after 4 years, you got almost $1 million saved to go do whatever you want to do. Anybody in this country can be a millionaire in 3 to 7 years, depending on where you're starting from. And this is one of the techniques that can help you do it. All right, that was a great question. That was a lot of fun. All right, I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to go ahead and get off the line now. But I'm going to check free conference call just one more time. I really do appreciate those of you who are on. Uh-oh, I got off of my dashboard on free conference call. Now I don't know where it is. Oh, there it is. There it is. Hey, I'm so glad y'all are on the line. I'm going to go ahead and close out now. If you have a question after the fact, go ahead and go to askjjc.com, and I'll catch it during the next class. All right. That's all I have for you today. Y'all take care and be blessed.